Hey there, groovy cats and chicks. It's me, the world's most dangerous filmmaker, Rock Savage, the master of dynamic greatness. And if you've seen any of our films, you know that all of our films have dynamic greatness. And I've been getting a lot of email lately, emails of people asking me, well, Rock, Savage, what do you shoot your movies on? And I'm like, well, we used a whole mess of different, variety of different formats. And, we shot in Super 8, we experimented in 16 millimeter, went back to Super 8, shows you how well that worked. And then we shot on high 8 video, and then we're shooting this right now on digital video. And, well, let me share with you a brief history. Here are some of the cameras. Each one of these cameras were used in a Savage Film Group production, and sometimes more than one. I'm going to start off with this. Let's get this out of the way. After we made A Taste of Flesh, the first Harry Gross movie back in 1981, we decided we were going to shoot another zombie film, and it was going to be a bit different than the Harry Gross film, different than Zombies on Campus slash A Taste of Flesh. That was the title. Had changed the title. We were going to shoot a different type of film. It was going to be a lot different than the Harry Gross film, and a lot different than any of the Dawn of the Dead films or Romero films that were out at the time. So, we decided, let's shoot it. Couldn't afford to shoot in 35 millimeter, which is the format used in Hollywood. However, a lot of independent companies, small companies in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, use 16 millimeter. And then they would blow it up to 35 and actually get it shown in theater. And there used to be a film distributor here in the state of Maryland called Banner Films. So I talked to them, and they said, make a film, and then show it to us, and we'll talk about it. Great. The problem was getting a 16 millimeter camera. It's not like now you go to your Best Buy, your Radio Shack, or you can't go to Ritz anymore, but you used to go to Ritz and buy a video camera. No, you had to for a 16 millimeter camera. They cost a lot of money, especially back in the 70s and in the 1980s. Very expensive equipment. Also, you're shooting in sync sound. The sound is recorded separately when you shoot on 16 millimeter. It's not like Super 8 that has a magnetic stripe going down the film, which you would later, if you were to make prints of that, you would have to get an optical stripe. I'm getting too technical there probably, but what the hell. So anyway, we decided, okay, we'll shoot the film silent, because a lot of times we had to redub things afterwards anyway if there was background sound, and they do, by the way, they do that in professional films too. Sometimes they have to do redubs. We'll just redub the whole thing. No big deal if it looks like a foreign film. It's going to have action. It's going to have very witty dialogue. It's going to have dynamic greatness and lots of gore. So who cares if it's slightly synced off? People were used to that by watching kung fu movies all the time. And they were importing a lot of the Italian horror movies. So we would have been in good company. We weren't too worried about that. We were going to try our best, of course, to sync it up just right. However, this is what we were able to get. A gentleman sold us this camera. Apparently this was a combat camera used to film combat in the Korean War. So yes, it's from the 1950s. This camera's older than me. And it's not a bad little camera, except that right here you have this control here, which what it does is it opens up the lens to let light in. And see, it's got settings. It says, bright sun, hazy sun, light shade, cloudy, dull, and then very dull. So this opens up the thing. However, they're not accurate. They're not that accurate, so we would get overexposed, underexposed film. It was really a pain. Like I said, basically the job of this little guy was to, in very rough conditions, to shoot film. Also, there were journalists that would use this camera at the time. They keep it in their car. They see They go to a scene of a crime or a fire or a disaster. They whip this out, shoot some footage, and then they would add narration over it. And in the 50s, television was still uh, very infantile stage. They basically shot it newsreel style. So they would have narration over the footage, and they were still had newsreels in some theaters. Now, this doesn't run on any batteries, which is a good thing because those batteries are expensive. You wind this like a watch, and actually the frame it would give you, this is right here, you could set the frames. And you have to shoot professionally for the 16 millimeter and 35 millimeter. You shoot 24 frames per second. Super 8 film is 18 frames per second. 18 frames per second is good, but you get better quality with 24. I can't really tell you the difference. See, you wind this up like a clock. I'm not going to wind it all the way. You push this lever down and it stays down, and there you go. Now this, the cameras that are used for, you know, this is why they have a thing called a Barney, that you would cover it up because it makes so much sound. This is why the sound is recorded separately on a reel-to-reel recorder that's far away with a mic from this camera, because this is making a lot of noise and it's starting to annoy me. Thank you. So, also what was annoying is it was very tough to load this camera. Let me show you something. Unscrew this bad boy right here. There you go. There's the guts right there. I'll show you how it runs. Yeah. And you'd put your reel here, and it would go, you'd have to thread it in there. You'd have to do it quick and make sure, you would lose the first maybe foot of, not a foot of film. You'd probably lose a few frames of film because you're trying to get it not to be exposed to light. And then so the minute that thing's there, you put this on there, the minute it's set right, and then you're ready to shoot. This is a pain. A lot of young folks who shoot on video don't realize how much worries we had on the set of a movie. I keep this as a reminder. It's not a bad camera. It just, it's seen better days. All right, let's move on. That experiment didn't work out too good for us. And then Banner Films, poor guys, they disappeared. So, what to do? We went back to shooting in Super 8 film. And this is the type of camera my friend used, and I bought one just like his because I really loved it. This is called the Shannon. This is the famous, and it was famous at the time, 257S XL. And right here is where the microphone went. So this shot directly on sound. But you heard how loud this camera was. This camera was also loud. We had to keep the mic away from the camera. And sometimes you could hear it in the background. So we'd have to put it on the projector, go in a quiet room, and dub over the sound that was already recorded. And what I like about this is you can see, keep you from losing your lens cap. A problem with a lot of cameras. People would somebody, whoever was running the camera, some idiot would always lose the lens cap. I was not happy with that. So this was our flagship camera. As you can see right here, it says Camera 1, because later we would do more than one, 2 camera shoots for special effects or stunts that we didn't want anything happening to it. You can see this camera's really cool. You press right here, that checks your battery check. Right here, you got auto exposure, so you don't have to worry about the camera will open automatically. Or you can shoot manual. We didn't have to do manual because that's a pain in the ass. But what we did do was, if we had to fade to black, we shoot the manual all the way back. And we'd fade to black. And it was just too cool. Yeah. Now, the audio gain. We kept it on high because if you were far away, we want to make sure we got all the dialogue. If you thought there was too much sound, you could set the audio gain on low right here. So the controls were simple. I think they need to do that with video cameras. Make them simple. There's an old saying, keep it simple, stupid, and that's what they need to do. This is where your cartridge went. When the cartridge went there, you slap that bad boy in there, and you're ready to go. And it's in a cartridge, so you don't have to worry about exposing the film. I also love, and this is the power thing, your batteries went inside here. You had basically AAA batteries, AA batteries. They went in there. Beautiful. You're ready to go. And I love this grip handle. By the way, if you didn't want to keep pressing the trigger, you push it all the way down and push this button, and it would hold the trigger down. So this was great. I think this was a terrific camera. I loved it. Not only you could estimate the distance of focus. You could focus there for your eye if you were nearsighted or whatever. You didn't want to use your glasses. If you had glasses, you would use this. This was great. We used this to shoot. This is the camera we used to shoot Mummy a Gorgor in. We used it for the Groovy Squad films. We shot in black and white with it for Hard Boiled Heroes. We also used it for, I'm trying to think what other film, Max Blood. And really, the last film we shot for Violence Is My Business, which is the last thing we shot on this was the Harry Gross short film that was part of the anthology Illegal Possession. There was the technical difficulties, but it wasn't with the camera. It was with the film lab, and that's for another story. But this great camera shot 90% of our films with it. But we did have a little help from this camera right here. This camera's silent. It's a Bell & Howell XL Auto Load 2220. Also, you notice it says Camera 2. Why does it say Camera 2, Rock? Well, I'll tell you. I'm ready to tell you why it says Camera 2. It says Camera 2 because it would be on another tripod, and we had another cameraman running it. And if we were doing a stunt with martial arts or people shooting each other or there was going to be a lot of blood, we wanted to make sure we got it all. So we had two cameras for security from two different angles. Also, we could make the film scene longer and beef up the running time by, cutting two in front, two in front, two in front with both cameras. And, you don't want to know how we did editing. Well, we'll probably show you one day. This is pretty simple. Here's your cartridge. Goes in there. This thing would open up, and I go open up now, and that's where you put your film. This had a fixed focus. You didn't have to worry about focusing at all. Up here, you push this and push this down, and it would automatically keep shooting. So in case if we didn't have a cameraman, no problem. We'd have the camera still running. This was great. We shot a lot of movies with this one too. This was our backup camera. And our second camera when we did two camera shoots. If we needed someone to shoot a quick scene or background scenes, like cars on a street or something else, and I was busy shooting something else, we'd send them off with this camera. I bought this at a thrift store. It's a great camera. This is a Kodak XL10. Again, it's also silent, but it doesn't matter. Right here, batteries, cartridge. It's real cool. Goes right here. Just shove that bad boy in there. You're ready to go. You push this button down and you're set. And it goes like I said, simple setups. Right here you could attach a light. It's obviously back in the 70s. They had this accessory available. I couldn't find it anymore. But we didn't need it because we had plenty of lighting equipment. So we were okay. Great camera. Still works great. When I did the documentary film Mondo Pagan, I sent out L.W. Woods with this camera, and she videotaped scenes at a sweat lodge where they were doing a ritual. They were doing an ancient pagan ritual there in front of this tent, and she shot it on film because I was, at the time I wasn't on site, unfortunately. I think I was doing... I was sleeping because I was exhausted from the night before. The sweats get up real early. Also, I was not on site. I was at a hotel. I'm, trying to keep the camera equipment dry because it was very rainy at the campsite. And fortunately, that day it didn't rain. So she was able to get some great footage with this. So meanwhile, because I was shooting the rest of Mondo Pagan, the opening scenes was shot with this. And they were also I called them the teasers because that's what they were. And later, what happened was we shot the rest of the film, including the interviews and everything, were shot on video. You know, all the interviews and stuff, because, you know, you couldn't do that on film with all that. The film cartridges, for your information, last about, at the most, 4 minutes. Roughly 3 minutes, 70 seconds. It's a rough estimation, somewhere between that. I think it's 4 minutes if it's 4 minutes if it's 18 frames per second, which is what we were shooting. So that's 4 minutes every cartridge, and those cartridges weren't cheap. You were paying, like, at the time we started, $18 a roll. That's pretty expensive. So you're not want to shoot a talking head films movie all on film like that, especially since it was direct to video anyway. But we did get some good footage with this. This was great, and it turned out really wonderful for us. So there you go. These are the cameras of the Savage Film Group. So for all of you who were wondering what we shot in, the answer is Super 8, 16 millimeter, back to Super 8, High 8, and now digital. So the Savage Film Group does adapt when possible, and here we are today on YouTube. Anyway, I appreciate the email. Please send me your fan mail, your hate mail, your love letters, and your death threats. I love them all. You know what they say. Say something good, say something bad, but just say something. Anyway, you want to support us by buying some of our films, click down to the link below, www.savagefilmgroup.com. Go to our website, click, and click on, for our action films, click on Action Horror, if you want those. The documentary I just talked about, Mondo Pagan, I think it's either under Shockumentaries or it's under Occult. Look under one of those, because now I can't remember. Now, I know, that's pretty rough, but hey. Anyway, also, I'm going to add another link below. I want you to check out our Savage Film Group trailers of the last 10 years. You'll see all the quality stuff we shot. Great stuff. You'll dig it. Anyway, I hope this satisfies your curiosity, especially those of you who are thinking about becoming independent or like us, underground filmmakers, because really not many independent filmmakers anymore. But anyway, if you're ready to become an underground filmmaker, yeah, go and find the camera, the format that is perfect for you. I used to recommend Super 8 all the time when I was shooting in Super 8. Realistically, it is not cost efficient anymore. And by the way, you're saying, well, but Rock, it's not available anymore. Well, you'd be wrong. It's available. Do a search. Company in Burbank, California. Still stuck in Super 8 land. As much as I love that format, it is cost prohibitive. So, not good for an underground filmmaker, really. Anyway, I'll catch you on the next video. And if you get some of our movies, I'll see you at the movies. And thank you. Oh, time for me to go.